Bradford pear, all those blooms won't, their pollen doesn't communicate with each other. It's kind of a neutralized. Yeah, but they don't really grow in either. So they just are weird tree. But they will mate with the regular pear, and they water down the regular pear, so the regular pear ain't what the regular pear was. And it comes off with a funky hybrid. And they say that the Bradford pear is ruining the natural pear in Tennessee, and it's probably going to eliminate them because it's going to turn them into its own little thing. And whether or not they can reproduce, they're not sure. But I don't either. They're trying to get them cut out, but dig them up, move them, yeah. Because they're a nasty tree because they get so dense. They're a pretty tree when they're shaped, and then they flower so good. But they're so packed together that the wind hits them. It's like hitting a sail, and that stem ain't flexible, so brittle that they just pop. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. I've read a few articles about it. Yeah, you sweat, yeah. Because other trees will sway, but those short stalk and the full that gives you the aesthetics one, they don't handle the wind in Tennessee. The long skinny stems that we see in our trees is better for when we get the winds coming through like we do. That's interesting. Those Bradford pear. We had one go down here in the church. At first, when we first moved here, I wanted to cut that one, and I wanted to cut that magnolia tree. That magnolia tree stains are because of Dolores Pimpin. The only reason. I'd have taken it down right.
When she's gone, it's gone.
I don't know. I don't know if I can do that by then because we put up with it a long time, you know. But yeah, that one is. The magnolia trees are evergreen, and they constantly shed. They either shed their leaves, they shed those blooms that they do, or that fruit that kicks off, or I guess they're really nice. So it's always messing in the front. They're nasty looking. The only ones that look the best are the ones that if you leave them go, they will grow all the way to the ground. And if they grow like that, you don't see all the mess because it's under itself. But they're nasty tree to. Yeah, and they just go all over the ground. But yeah, they're as far as poor brother Steve. I don't know how many times he probably should have got stitches, at least a concussion from cracking his head on that out there. He got yelled at one time because Dolores saw him out there with a chainsaw. And he was just knocking the branches off. But I wouldn't have. He helped me cut it down. He's had to deal with it all these years. And you go try to walk in the front yard and twist your ankle on those stupid cones and. It's the only tree left. All the rest of them are popping off. That's true. These oaks back here, I'm leery of them when we get the heavy rains because water sits back there so much. And we know the depth of the earth here is pretty limited because of it was just rocks. But watching them take the hackberry out that was right in front of this building that one time. Because it was grown when they finally dug it up. He ended up digging it up and then ramming it with his little mini excavator, and it was just barely hanging on. But the roots were down in between two rocks.
Oh, wow.
It was down in the crevice. It didn't make sense that it was even there, honestly, but it was. And so the tree was about yay big. The root system was like this, straight down, because that's the only way it could go. Weirdest thing, and he was hitting it and chainsawing it and hitting it, put a chain on it, hold it, and it took him forever to get some tree proofs. It was funny to watch. I've never seen a tree like this. That was pretty funny.
I'm just curious how much it's going to cost to get that tree cut
A lot.
down.
A lot. Tree guys charge you. If you get a true arborist, which if you want to shape it, that's really what you should do. So I'd call on the real reputable tree guys and not just dudes that work out of the back of their pickup.
I didn't pay $20 for the tree. I want to pay $1,000 to shape it.
It's going to be, it'd probably be in that range, honestly. So you might just let it go or take a chainsaw. To shape it? To shape it or to cut it down? Oh, no, it's more than that now, Steve. At least to where I've seen. They wanted 1,500 a tree out here. Those big ones we had, 1,500.
Come down.
So, anyway, all right. Laura says we're live on Face in the Book, so they've heard us talk about trees and UT and OSU. Yeah.
Miss Marvin, okay?
Huh?
Brother Marvin and Gloria.
Brother Marvin and Miss Gloria, okay. They called just before we left the house. Miss Gloria had a tooth thing going on, and they're putting a new, I don't even know what she's got in her head, but they're putting a new contraption in there. So they had to do measurements, and they put a temporary in there for now, and then they're gonna put regular in. She said it all feels good, but they just got home, and they're both wiped out. So, and she wasn't belly aching. Well, maybe she was a little bit, but apparently Brother Marvin took the wrong turn at one point and took them through a pretty nasty traffic jam. So they didn't get home till late. But what? Yeah, it's probably your mom. She's okay. I'm not saying nothing bad. Your dad might get mad at me, but he'll be all right. He just grins and rolls his eyes at me. He's had to put up with me for a minute or two. But anyway, our friend from over in at Rutherford County Baptist Church, he contacted me. He accidentally left his keys on the bus at the church, and so he couldn't drive. He couldn't drive here tonight. He said if his wife got home in time, he'd try to shoot over here, but he said he didn't think it was going to happen. So, but it was great to meet his wife and Miss Beth. And,
Is that Tony Hudson's church?
and it's what's his name?
Miss Shirley's watching you.
Oh, okay, good. Miss Shirley, how you doing, Miss Shirley? No, sir, it's Paul Chisgar's church out in Rutherford, and then Smyrna. And but anyway, it was good to see him on Sunday. But he's probably not going to come to our church because he's pretty settled over there. But he's a good guy, and appreciate him. Do me a favor. Continue to pray for the kids. Got word today that from the Hudsons that Amanda's sick, and her daddy was sick. Her daddy got to the doctor, found out he's got the flu. So their household has the flu going through it, and of course Sam and Lid's got the flu going through it. And I'm really getting worried about Sundays, the potential of having a kids play. Maybe the first year ever we'll bounce the play over into sometime in January when everyone can get better. So it's been an odd stretch for us, but it is what it is. I don't know, and I'll have to see it, but I don't think it'd be real beneficial to have the kids play on. Is there a Sunday? How's that Sunday work? The Sunday like the 23rd? I think there's a Sunday on the 23rd.
That's one we're doing, it's the 21st, next one's gonna be the 28th.
The 22nd is
22nd,
when it's
29th.
And there's the 29th.
And there's the
Oh, it's a 29th. So yeah, it will.
That might be,
I don't know that we do it the 29th because so many people will be gone with holiday stuff. I don't know that we'd want to do it then. I'll have to talk to Miss Darlene and the powers that be and see.
speaking of, any updates?
I hadn't gotten an update on her lately. They haven't conversed with me as far as good or bad. And oh, you did get a recovery, so she's in recovery. That's probably good news. So I guess no news is good news. I assume that, and they're remarkably private with that. I don't blame them; it's their business. So, I believe she got through it okay, the procedure and all, and she's an old veteran by now at it, poor thing. But do keep her in prayer and pray that this takes and all. And if Sunday happens, we're still planning on Saturday to have the party, and it may be a skid down version of normal, but if we'll schedule it.
I won't be here.
Yeah, because you're on.
I'm one of my brothers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
Probably gonna,
we'll.
she texted me and said, I didn't invite your ex-wife. I said, we'll see.
So, but do pray for our people. There's still a lot of sickness going on. Yes,
Miss Shirley asked that we pray for her.
she's struggling too.
That's all she,
We always do.
she said, Dad's blood work came back all good, they're still waiting on X-ray results.
Good, good. I know she's been struggling. I'm not sure what. I know that on Facebook I saw.
Thomas, or this says,
Yes, Thomas.
Yes,
Did he? Oh man.
she took some hospital.
Pray for Thomas too. So that's a bummer. Pray about that.
Lucy's fine.
Lucy is fine. I think everything is good with Lucy Lou.
She was Sunday night.
And yeah, and the Powell's kids were good Sunday night.
It's all subject to time.
All of it's likely to change at this point. And yeah, we talked to Lyra. Lyra had a big sore on her face right here with this hand, foot, and mouth illness that they had. And she kept wanting to come to our house, but her mom kept telling her not till your sore gets better because she can't grasp being well. Well, she's called the last 2 days and pointed to her face. I'm gonna come to your house. It's all better. It's all better. Can I come to your house? And now they got the flu going around, so Laura's leery. And, huh? No.
Myra's good. I think they're all good.
Well, Myra's, I don't know if she's as good as you thought. I think she looked droopy today, but I don't know. She ain't running a fever. She hadn't run a fever for yesterday and today, so she's probably on the good side of it. And they gave what is that? That Tamiflu?
Theraflu.
They gave the Tamiflu is what the doctors prescribed for it. The Theraflu is a medicine you buy.
That's where you get
Yeah.
started.
So they gave it to the little ones, assuming they had the flu, hopefully to eliminate the side effects or the spread of it. But they seem to be feeling fine. Those, yeah, the kids took the flu shot earlier. So
so they got the foot.
they got the flu. So
I took it too.
yeah, don't get it. Yeah, but you're.
I took the COVID shots and still got COVID.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any. I'm hoping they'll just keep hold to
I
the
think as
old.
long as you don't go to the hospital, you'll
Yeah.
live.
I'm hoping they'll hold on to the old polio shot and just keep giving us the old strain of that to keep that. That's a
We
nasty
don't
one.
need it to come back.
No, that one's a nasty one. Of course, smallpox and some of those German measles and things like that. I don't mind those kind of. COVID, they put a big scare there, but there's really not much to it. I know some people get affected by it, but most of it's just a small respiratory thing. So anyway.
Heard a bunch of times.
Yeah, the one
They're
out west,
going
it's,
to Alaska.
yeah, out, he's almost due north of Montana. In fact, they usually drive into
Interstate
Montana.
15.
Yeah.
Right, where's that?
That's awesome. But that's Joe's stomping grounds.
It's 5 degrees, feels like -7.
They can go by themselves.
Yeah, Nettie was packing
And it's
last
supposed to
night.
start snowing at 8 o'clock tonight.
Nettie was packing her suitcase, and she had this big old black coat that her mom bought her a number of years ago. And she said, "Mom, I didn't think I'd need it, but I'm taking it with me."
It's gonna be interesting to hear her recap.
Yeah.
It says it's expected lower than normal temperatures expected through Wednesday.
Oh, poor thing. They got froze out last time.
That's
they
what
went
they get
too.
for living in Florida.
Sure. I know. Joe's gonna get cold because that thin blood, that Canadian blood's been thinned a little bit, so it ought to be fun. But you can tell, we talked to him, and Joe's excitement is half a grin. That's about all the excitement you get out of Joe. But you can tell he was a little more giddy than normal, so I think he's excited about going home. And,
You're driving?
huh?
You're driving?
They're
Oh,
flying.
good, okay.
Yeah, they're flying.
No,
They,
no.
It's like a 3-day trip if they drive, so I don't think they want to do that. Huh?
Not if they're
Well, not if Joe's right.
Really?
He won't have no tires by the time he gets there.
Oh, wait.
All right, let's have a quick word of prayer. Yes, sir.
George,
Oh, of course. Continue to remember George and of course his family and all that's going on with him. And don't forget them. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we love you. Thank you for this place. Thank you for the camaraderie that we have. Thank you for these people, Lord. I pray that you'd help our folk that are struggling. Be with Gloria and Marvin as they're home tonight. Lord, just help them recover from the day, the long day, and help Miss Gloria's teeth to recover and be right, and bless that. Be with Miss Shirley, Lord, bless her in the situation she's in, and certainly bless Thomas in the sprained ankle, and thank you for a good report on Brother Billy. Pray that you bless them. Help Nettie and Joe as they do the trip. Help the term Moses. More complications in life. Tree falling down. Work everything out. It's been tough. One of our affected. All three of us. Help them get over it. Bless their help our church. Certainly help our Lord. Help our kids, when they come sick, bless them. Give us a good night here as we look at your word a little bit more from Isaiah. Help us to learn something that will help us to our hearts. Thank Holy Spirit. Amen. We are going to try to do the impossible. Last week we did 2 chapters because they tied together. This week we're going to do the same thing. The chapters tied together. Fewer verses, so hopefully we can pull it off. And I didn't do a ton of rapid trip, but we made those. And this week, more than last, I have more voice. Today I woke up with a little more voice than I've had in a couple days. Didn't do much talking yesterday. I just let Lord yell at me yesterday, but today I've had a little bit more voice, so that's good. But we're gonna talk in this, and I did the format of this page is a little different than what I've normally done, and I'm not sure why I did that. It was done, and I printed it, and like, man, that looks weird. Can you give me? So anyway, the format's a little different, but hopefully we can make some heads. The outline we talked last week, Isaiah 44 and 45. Basically, we talked about God's great revelation. As the story went on, and certainly the 2 chapters, God explains in essence who He is. He gives Israel insight to the end of their captivity, in an explanation of Cyrus and him delivering them back to their homeland after captivity. And man, getting too close. You guys are going to see
I know,
my...
well, this thing is all messed up and it's giving a lot of static. So
Did you plug the dude in, or the...
I can't plug it in, it's giving too much
Too
static.
much static on the microphone?
I need a new setup.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that. Maybe we can make that happen. But anyway, we left off in Isaiah chapters 44, 45, and God does talk a lot about Israel, His love for them, and His plan to deliver them. He gives us insight through. Like I said last week, I really think 44 and 45 should be together. I really think the next 2 chapters should be also. They're not, they're divided, but I'm going to kind of put them together in our discussion tonight. That's why I went this route, and in fact, there's only 30 verses, 15 in each chapter, I think, and 15 or 16 anyway. There's just a few verses, and relatively speaking, 13 or 15, so, yeah. And anyway, so we could have, I looked at the next chapter just out of curiosity, but it really didn't tie into this chapter, these 2 chapters, so I thought it'd be too ambitious of us to try to do 3 chapters in a night. That might be too much, and I don't know that Miss Vicky would be okay with that. 2 is about max for us, and so I don't want to push it too far. I like to pick on Miss Vicky sometimes. She's quiet and she minds her own, but she's spunky. So if you stir her up, she gets mouthy sometimes. I kind of like it that way, but I grew up around.
Same Rocky Top, I'd get it.
Yeah. He's so rotten. But anyway, so we're going to jump into this, and what's interesting about this, it's almost a revert around, and I did read an account that one of the Bible scholars, there's a theory out there that this latter half of the book, or latter section of the book, was written either at a later time in Isaiah's life or possibly by another writer, and that's always been up for debate. In fact, there are some that I've read and heard that teach that Ezra was real instrumental in a lot of the writings of the Old Testament. In fact, some of the writings I've seen have theorized that Ezra did a lot of the writing, like even wrote 1st, 2nd Chronicles. So books that really wouldn't be in the time frame that Ezra was in. But Ezra was referred to as a ready scribe by God as he described him and in the Bible, and it makes sense that he was just a writer. That's what he did, and so he may have been a historian pulling everything together. I don't know, and I wouldn't argue with somebody. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But I kind of think Isaiah was if Ezra was the writer, it doesn't really make sense. Ezra probably wouldn't have lived around the time Isaiah was here. So Isaiah has got too much, in my opinion, too much personal conversation going on. So there may have been a writer that Isaiah used in talking to, and the guy writing it down, but there's some very interpersonal things that go on in the book of Isaiah. It leads me to think that Isaiah was the one that penned it. But I wouldn't argue with anyone because, again, I wasn't there. And God preserved what he wanted to preserve, and whoever wrote it. God put it together for us, and praise the Lord that he did. So Isaiah in these 2 chapters is going to aim at Babylon and get in his discussion. It's interesting, chapters before, those 2 chapters, the end of chapter 30 or 44 and then into chapter 45, the discussion about Cyrus. And of course, Cyrus was post-Babylonian control. And it's almost kind of, he's going back in his mind, I guess, for what he's been taught. I don't know. But God basically is talking here, and God's presenting to Israel an argument in this first chapter. And it broke down pretty like this. So I titled chapter 46 as The Idols of Babylon versus the One True God. And you'll see as we go that God, in essence, creates an argument with Israel and even Babylon. And he's going to hone in on Babylon in the next chapter and explain why he's coming down, informing again Israel that even though Babylon was allowed to punish Israel, be used by God to punish Israel, God still got Babylon. And so there's a little bit of that flair to this. So I was talking a little earlier about Isaiah's quite repetitive in some of these things, and I say Isaiah, but I think it's God, the way God wanted it reported in this. The latter section of Isaiah basically is a poetry. They refer to it as poetry, or in our little outline, the 3rd section we've called salvation, and these we put poetry. The reason we did that is because that's kind of what's going on. And poetry doesn't really follow rhyme and reason, and yet it's explaining some things. And God's position, I think, is being exposed here. And honestly, through this section, this last section, we're seeing God's heart. If we can refer to it that way. I know God's a spirit, but I think we're seeing the inner workings of God and how he feels towards his nation, Israel. And if it feels that way to Israel, of course, we in the New Testament see a lot of the correlations that come. If he feels that way toward Israel, I believe he feels that way toward us. And when we see and understand the concept that God wants a personal relationship with us, I think the more that we see that, the clearer we see that, the more valuable that we will take our time with Him. The more we will honestly, I think, if we'll think of it that way, we'll strive to have a relationship with Him. And I know in my personal life, when I've taken that approach to this Christian life, the Christian life in my early days was quite a drudgery. I had a lot of rules to follow. Mom and Dad, of course, had their thumb on my head. Brought up in the Christian schools, that whole environment. Remarkably strict at home life in how to behave and operate and function. But because of that, I was quite rebellious, honestly, through my young years and heading into my teen years. And the more I started realizing that this is not the rules and regulations, it is an attempt for us, humanly speaking, to try to help guide us towards the truth. The reality is that once we get God in our heart and realize how much He loves us, and He sent Jesus here to be our example, it should lead us to a position where we want to please Him, and we want to follow His word, and we want to learn it. And so it makes it a lot easier. So I think this is very useful in logicking why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I'm not just following a bunch of rules because Pastor so-and-so said that. I'm honestly trying to be as close to Jesus as I could be, because the God that sent Jesus loves me on a personal level and wants me to have that type of a relationship with Him. So as we look at it and we look at this, I hope we don't get in the redundancy that seems to occur here in Isaiah. I hope we don't get lost in the value it is for us to know that. And it's to me, it's been helpful. So letter A there, that would be under number 6. Of course, it's all wonky there on the page. But trying to follow our outline, and you have to see the size, and I think it's about 6 or 8 pages if I lay the outline out that I've accrued over this time. And we're in chapter 46. There's 20 chapters left, so it's going to be a pretty long outline. But I think I'm figuring out why there's not a whole lot of books written on Isaiah, because it's a book in and of itself. But letter A there, I put the fake gods. The fake gods. God here is going to present, if you will, an argument for a choice. Why do we choose one or the other? He starts off with Babylon, and verse 1 there, it says, Bel boweth down, Nebo stoopeth, their idols were upon the beasts and upon the cattle, your carriages were heavy laden, they are a burden to the weary beast. And going through that, defining Bel, B-E-L, is a Phoenician deity, and it's called Baal, B-A-A-L, or Baalim, B-A-A-L-I-M, and Baalim is the plural form of Baal. And here he says, Baal boweth down. What a concept. Just think of that. God's saying Baal has to bow in my presence, because Baal is. And then Nebo. Nebo is the name of another Babylonian deity, or god, if you will. Of course, Babylonians were polytheistic, and so they believed in many gods. A lot of things were a god. Baal, in and of himself, was a rock, if you will. And what he's laying out conceptually, an argument why you're following this god. And what he says is, after he gives us, Bel is boweth down, Nebo stoopeth, and that word Nebo is a name of a Babylonian deity. Stoopeth means hunchback, or humpback would be better, H-U-M-P back, or hunchback, kind of along that line. And it says their idols were upon beasts. Now he's logicking with illogical concept here. It's almost, it seems as if he's saying, okay, if this is a god, why does he need a critter to carry it? That doesn't make sense. And it really don't, you think about it. And then he continues, and upon the cattle your carriages were heavy loaded, or loaded, and they are a burden to the weary beast. In other words, it's a dumb, and lack of a better term, a very dumb, unintelligent creature, which the work creatures are. The beast they would put them on, whether it's a horse or a cow, they're limited in their knowledge. They just work. That's all they know to do. They just go and do their thing. And he's saying, okay, that's, you're this quote-unquote God that you're worshiping has to have a dumb critter to carry it. That's what he's saying. And it's just funny how much tongue-in-cheek there is in God's conversation here. He's talking to human beings that think they're superhuman, super intelligent. We're so smart, we created this God, but we have to get it from here to here. We have to get the dumb ox to carry it, and because it's not capable of carrying itself.
Maybe that's where the dumbass thing comes
Oh, it's such a great statement there. I'm glad you made it. But still very fitting.
You wouldn't have laughed as I said it.
I would have too.
No.
That was perfect timing. It was timed perfectly. But so it's again, to me, this is God. We went through this a little bit last week. God tongue-in-cheeks a lot, and that's why I say sarcasm is alive and well with God. I really believe it. And if you hear him talking, I mean, that's basically what he's saying. Verse 2, they stoop, they bow down together. They could not deliver the burden. They themselves are gone into captivity. In other words, he's saying, okay, so Babylon, this great nation that you were in awe of, that came and took you captive, worshiped this God, and you followed their God because, well, you were there, so you followed their God. How great was their God? Because in just short order, they went into captivity too, because they're as dumb as the ox that was pulling their God. And that's the God talk. I'm just telling you, that's some people say I'm just adding sarcasm to God. I'm not adding anything to God. I'm just studying what God said. And then number 2, I put under, so number 1, did I give you number 1? Number 1, I put weakness there. And boy, what a description of a weak God. We made it out of a rock, and it should be able to, if it's a God, it should be able to do something, but it needs a dumb ox to move it. Or as Brother Ricky added, his statement was wonderfully placed. And then he carries on, number 2, I put down uselessness. He's going to give a little description here. I was going to break this down even more, but I couldn't. Listen to what he says. They lavish gold out of the bags, and weigh silver in the balance, and hire goldsmiths. He maketh it a god. They fall down, yea, they worship. Again, God, tongue-in-cheek here. They bear him upon the shoulder. They carry him, and set him in his place, and he standeth from his place. Shall he not remove? Yea, one shall cry unto him, yet he cannot answer, nor save him out of his trouble. Remember this, and show yourselves men. Bring it again to mind, O ye transgressors. Looked up that word transgressors, and I thought it would say wicked people or evil people. What it means is rebel. That's what it means. Now, I know in the South that's a term of endearment, but here in relationship to God, a rebel against God is not really what rebels in the South intend to be. They're more rebels against the national government, and that seems to make sense. But I put a little statement down here, and I'll explain my statement when I'm done. I put rebels go through a lot of trouble to acknowledge the real God, or to not acknowledge the real God. In other words, they try everything they can do to phase out the real God. I was thinking that when I even made that statement, I was thinking about what trouble that Darwin went through to get an explanation of how humans came to be without God. And that was his whole intent. Not only that, but how much work has science gone to since Darwin's day to try to prove improvable impossibilities that Darwin expressed in his approach to this natural idea. I mean, there's so many things and so many holes in that whole explanation of evolution. And scientists still, you can turn on the average science show on television today, and you'll have intelligent people stand there and spend the first 10 minutes of the program trying to explain evolution in a way that sounds intelligent, telling you stupid things, how this critter evolved over bazillions of years to be like this. How stupid is that? God made it like that. Leave it alone. It's so much simpler to believe that God took care of it. It's so much easier for me with the brain God gave me to realize that there had to be something better and stronger than me to make me. And to me, that's simple logic. But if you want to live in the scientific world, you've got to be able to say it a little different than that, I guess. You're too dumb to take on a conversation. But honestly, rebels are going to a lot of trouble, and that's what God's presenting here, I think, to Israel, basically saying that how dumb are we if we just accept God for who He is, and what He can do, and just trust that He does it. We don't understand it because He's God, but let Him be God. And how many times have I used the illustration of an instruction manual that comes with a product? I got this big old book that comes with that car. There's still a lot of things that car does. Laura told me one today coming in. She fussed at me about not locking the car. So I stopped out there on purpose and punched the dumb button on that and dig it out of my pocket because I don't need it to start the car because it's a push button. But I have to dig it out to lock it, and so I push the lock button. And she says, why are you going to all that trouble? Why didn't you just push the button on the knob there? I said, what button? Well, that little button that's on the knob. She said, that on the door. I know. I am the doorknob that you open, the handle that you open.
On the inside of the door, all cars have.
Oh, I thought well.
Let me get you to try something. When you get out of it, touch the handle and see if it'll lock it. My car will. I get out of it, I just touch the handle.
I have a feeling.
And it locks it. When I go to get in it, all I gotta do is touch it.
Yeah, I know it does that. Unlock it like that. And I know it does that. But in fact, today when I went into and did my little job, came back out, and I touched the car, as I was touching, I was like, I didn't lock it, and then it unlocked. I was like, well, how did it unlock? I don't remember locking it. She locked it. And because it tattled on me. Her phone told her that I was away from the car, and so she locked it. I guess that's a good thing. I don't know that I like the car telling me what to do. But I have a feeling.
It's telling her so she can tell you what to do.
And I have enough tattletales in my life. I don't need a car doing it too. But I just wonder how much of the car I would understand if I took out the instruction manual, read through it. At least look at the pictures might help me. I don't know.
I've had mine for 10 years and there's still things I'm learning.
I need to pull it and carry it in and sit there and thumb through it and at least look at pictures, because that's probably only reading I'll do, but unless something triggers my brain. But intriguing here how much we can learn about God, and how God is basically showing the idiocy of idol worship.
He's mocking it.
He's very much mocking it. And it's funny that because we don't think of, we usually don't think mocking.
He's sarcastic.
Oh, horrifically sarcastic. And I've had people fuss at me because I'm sarcastic, and I'm like, but God is, what's wrong with that? Jesus was, Peter was, Paul was. Why can't I be a little sarcastic? So anyway, letter B. Now, God's gone through this first 8 verses kind of explaining fake gods or false idols of Babylon. Letter B, I put the real God. So God's he's talking here, and it's really hard to outline this because it bounces around. But look what it says in verse 3. Hearken unto me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Israel, which are born by me from the belly and carried from the womb. Think of that just for a minute. Again, like we just talked about this last week. But God's laying it out to Israel. He says, listen, I've been there from the moment you were born. In fact, I had to plan your birth, the birth of Isaac. That was a pre-planned miraculous event. And I planned it because I loved your father, Abraham, so much, and appreciated his faith in me and the way that he followed me. that I was there. I made sure that your daddy was born, your great-granddaddy, and Isaac was born. And then Jacob and Esau, of course, he was there when Jacob and Esau were born, inside the womb fighting with each other. God's saying, I've been there this whole time. And then he continues, and he carried him from the womb, then verse 4, and even to your old age, I am he. I'm the one that's helped make you possible. Israel wouldn't even be without me, is what he's saying. And even to hoary hairs. I like this one, this old age. He didn't put a clause in there for those of us that are follically challenged, but what follicles I do have that are producing hair, they're pretty much old age hairs. They're coming out the wrong color. It says, I carry you. I'm going to carry you all the way through. I have made, and I will bear, even I will carry, and will deliver you. Wow, what a verse that is. I mean, what he's laying out here. To whom will you liken me, and make me equal, and compare me, that we may be alike? In other words, you're picking a stupid rock that needs a dumb ox to carry it. That's what you're going to follow, instead of the one that's been there from the moment your whole nation was conceived until this day. I've been there the whole time, helping you, carrying you across the Red Sea and through the wilderness, and miraculously given the land of Canaan to you, and taken care of you over and over and over again. What else can I do? And you can hear the frustration in his sarcastic words here about what else can I do? And then he's again continuing to reason with them why he should be the one chosen over the fake gods. I put number 1 there, use your mind. Look what he says, remember. To me, that's a signal. Use that brain I gave you. Remember the former things of old, for I am God. There is none else. I am God. There is none like me. Why would God repeat over and over again? We've learned that God repeats over and over again when someone's in trouble or when he really wants you to get it. I think in this case, you have a little bit of both going on here. He just really wants you to get it. And then I put...
Go up to hoary hair.
Oh, that means old age. Just simply means old age. It's just a symbolic term they're using for old person. And number 1, use your mind. Remember the former things. Well, I'm God. There's none else. I am God, and there is none like me. Number 2, use your mouth, declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times, and things that were not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. And that word pleasure means things desired. What I think he's getting at here is all those prophets that you guys have been ignoring, and all those things that I've been saying that's been happening from way back in Moses' day and even before Moses, and over again, I keep saying this stuff's going to happen, and it's happening, and you still don't believe it. I don't get it. And then verse 11, calling a ravenous bird from the east, and a man that executeth my counsel from a far country, yea, I have spoken it. I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it. I will also do it. That word purpose, this is an interesting term here. It means molded into form. I have purposed it. And you know that verse that we often refer to in our Christian lives, all things work together for good to them that love God. That's, I think, fits right there. God's saying, okay, everything, the chaos that seems to be going on around you, the tree falling on your cars, Brother Steve, somehow God's going to get some honor out of that. It's hard to see it when you're out there cutting the tree, figuring out how in the world are we going to get the insurance to cover this mess? And do I use homeowners? Or I was thinking that earlier. Do we use homeowners insurance? The car insurance? Which one's going to help us the best and get us what we need? Who's going to fix these cars? What do I do? I mean, there's so many questions that go on, but somehow God's going to get the glory. And when we go down this road of life that we go, the big bumps that come in our road, and we see God on the other end of the bump kind of smoothing everything out, we know he's going to do it. We don't like the bumps. We don't like the things that come down and are ugly, but God always has a way of fixing it. And I think that's what he's saying here. He's saying all these guys have told you what I've done and showed you what I've done and expressed to you what I've done. and yet you've ignored that. So use your mind, use your mouth, and number 3, use your ears. I like this one. Use your ears. Hearken unto me, you stout-hearted. I looked up the word stout-hearted. You know what that means? Bull. That's what it means. B-U-L-L. Bull. That dumb beast that's carrying that rock that you call a god, that's what your heart's like. That's what he's talking about. That are far from righteousness. Man, God's sarcasm is awesome. I love it. Verse 13, I will bring near my righteousness. It shall not be far off. My salvation shall not tarry. And I will place my salvation in Zion for Israel, my glory. In other words, God's saying, I'm never that far away. I'm always right here. As far away as you try to get from me, you're not. I think of that verse, draw nigh to God and he will draw nigh to thee. And I've always explained it. It's kind of ironic. But when we get away from God, it's just that one moment where we break and say, Lord, I need you, that he's right there. And we know he's right there. And yet we're fighting and fighting and fighting. I don't know why. I can't figure this out. What's going on? My life's falling apart. And we might go days, months, and some even years frustrated and trying to do it ourselves. And all of a sudden in frustration, we just call out, Lord, I need you. And boom, there he is. And what a great God he is. And to put up with all our idiocy. Just what a great God that we serve. And I'm so thankful for him. So, is that all? Is that the end of the chapter?
That's it?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I didn't.
Okay.
I'm looking at my Bible to make sure I didn't lie to you. I did lie to you all. No, that's 47. Chapter
46,
47.
you got 13.
Yeah, I did lie to you. See, I took the last verses and moved them, and apparently I didn't paste them. I knew it was 15. So I lied to y'all, and I apologize about that. I'll read it out again. Where did it, see if I put them anywhere? No, I was just looking at that, I was reading this, and I didn't paste them where I wanted them. I wanted to paste them, if I remember correctly. I wanted to paste them under the fake gods. Look what I'll read out, what verse 14 and 13, 14, and 15, because we ended in verse 13. Okay, Isaiah 47.
No, 46.
Okay, 46. Oh, there's only 13. I'm fine.
Been sitting there saying that for
Holy
5 minutes.
smoke! Well, I didn't know you was.
I'm just guessing now.
I know Laura was giving me that cross-eyed look. She's digging in her Bible. I'm reading. Okay, I did good then. I was going to move some verses. I thought I had.
You did, at the beginning.
Did I move some?
Yes, you moved 6, 7, and 8.
Oh, did I move?
Yes, you started blew my mind with that number.
Oh, yeah, I did. See, I knew that I moved some verses.
But it wasn't 14,
1 and
15,
2,
16.
and then 6 and 7 and 8. I mushed together. That's it. I see. I knew there was something that I did. Thank you. And then verses 3, 4, and 5. See, I moved those, and that was brilliant thinking at the time when I did it. I was going to note on there so I would notice that I did it. But then I'm looking at verse 13, like it didn't. I knew I moved some verses. Where did it go? I didn't read the numbers. I was just reading the words, baby. Okay, cut me some slack. All right, that's chapter 6, and to me, that's kind of an introduction to chapter 7, if you will. And these two, I put a number 7 there. I may go back and just leave it 6 and just A and B it in our outline. Not that anyone's ever going to care to read our 45-page outline. We have Isaiah with 66 books and 40. Anyway, but I put number 7, the humiliation of Babylon. And so here he's going to go through kind of, I think, if you look at my letter A there, an expose of a godless society. An expose of a godless society. I almost made that the title of the chapter because I really think that's what you'll see as we're going through here. And I think in the nation that we live in, brought up on and written and developed with a heavy godly influence. You can't go to Washington, D.C. and not see the influence of God. I've never been to Pennsylvania.
Not in the
but-
people.
Huh?
Not in the
No,
building.
not in the people. In the granite that they made the buildings out of. The marble and the granite, it's carved into the very fiber of the buildings we hold dear and as monumentous in its development. And you're right, not in the people, because most of them wouldn't know God if you bid them. But
That's Washington D.C. is a godless society.
yes, and that's I think the connection my brain kept wanting to make as I was reading through this, because to me it's so indicative of what we're seeing in our nation as a whole. We had yesterday another shooting. A 14-year-old girl went into a Christian school and shot up the place and killed people. And you know how vicious of a mind to think that way. And who knows the reason? Of course, they're trying to figure it out. Of
I
course,
just
Laura
can't
and I were talking.
understand a parent not seeing that kid's cry for help.
Exactly, and that's I think, and 14's not an easy age. There's no doubt about that. But we,
Play them computer games where they blow their heads off and arms and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah, but the
But
parents are so detached.
yes.
You know, give them a phone and let them go.
Exactly, and even you were alluding to the game, that there's so many parents that detach themselves, and I'm thankful my wife is, I love her, but she's remarkably, nosy. She's got her car telling on her husband when he doesn't lock the car when he's supposed to. The car's never alerted me about what she's done, but she's figured it out. And she knows I hadn't looked at the book. So she's got the car, she's got Nettie, she's got Jeannie, she's got Sam. Sam does a horrible job of telling her what I'm doing most of the time. But Sam married Lydia. And Lydia spawned kids that will tattle on me too. So I get it all over the place. And Sam's probably my only hope. But then even he gets a little wonky sometimes and goes tattles on me. So I get it coming and going. But anyway, here is, I think, an expose on a godless society, and listen as we go through this and see if you don't see the connections I think that we can make with the nation that we're living in, that we want to be and continue being a God-filled society, but it's become certainly a godless society. Number one, I put under there sexual dash nudity. And I was going to use S as my, so that's why I threw that word in there. But anyway, whatever word you want down there. Look at what Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and the grindstone, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover thy thighs, the thigh. Pass over the river, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. In looking at this portion of it, it just seems to be an influx of sexuality, honestly. And I believe nudity. In fact, when I grew up, my dad referred to this passage when he taught us kids about what the Bible describes as nudity. This is a great description of what the Bible talks about nudity. It says, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh. And so he said that the uncovering of the thigh was nudity. I know that the world, society certainly doesn't agree with that. But man, would we not be, you can't hardly walk around our America, even now in the winter. And we have a day that gets up to 45, 50, 60 degrees, and girls take their clothes off right away. I wonder why. God's telling us that's just a society. It's like, hey, here we are. And what should be the most sacred of our society, the women, which when I grew up, the women were revered. They really were. If a woman got on a crowded bus or something, there wasn't a seat for them, men would get up and give them their seat. If the door was closed and a woman was approaching the door, men would open the door. You don't see that these days. It's just what should be revered in our society. The women have now become the worst, if you will, of the ones that swear and talk vulgar. They've uncovered themselves completely. Most of the women run around in underwear or less in the summertime, and if a dude run around like that, most women would giggle and tell them, go get some clothes on. And yet it's acceptable in the woman's world, and it's odd that way because the Bible teaches that the man is the one triggered by what he sees. And so if God programmed us to be triggered by what we see, and women are exposing themselves, what do we expect is going to happen to our society? We're going to become a sexual society, and we're going to become warped, and that's exactly, I think, what we see. And what a sad revelation of what we have become. And I think what God's laying out, that not only Babylon had become, but Israel. And I think he's talking about the daughter of Babylon. He's saying that in essence, Israel, you become little Babylon. You're not mine. You become Babylon. You follow their gods. You walk in their ways, and you can look through the 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, and all the historical accounting. What's Israel battling with? The Baal. You see him all the time because Israel became a little Baal, a daughter of Babylon. And so God here is slapping at Babylon, but he's really hitting Israel because Israel has adopted the wrong of the nation that she was being held captive to. And boy, God really lays it out. And I tied it into Revelation 17, verse 16. The Bible says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Again, evilness is exposed, and when you see nudity in a society, it's an expose of the heart has gone cold toward God. And I think we can honestly in America say that's pretty true. And whether it's America or the whole world, you can't turn television on anymore without seeing nudity. It just has permeated our society so much. A man of character has to become a super character just to survive in this world. And with all the attempts by the devil to put us in a difficult situation, and it just happens all over the place. And just evidence, in my opinion, of this godless society. And then I put number 2, punishment proposed. In latter part of verse number 3, I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Think of that just for a moment. God's saying, I've lost respect for you. You've carried yourself in such a way, I won't even respect you. Revelation 18:20, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. In other words, God's saying, I'm done with you. And that's, of course, tying into the book of Revelation, and I think that's what is going on here. I think Isaiah is saying, hey, it's going to continue and continue and continue. And I think those of us who have been in America long enough know that's exactly where this nation's going to end up if she don't get her heart right. And I have a hard time seeing that happen. We've gotten so far removed from right to where just talking Bible stuff now is considered hate speech in most places in America. And what a scary position that we're in for what was supposed to be a godly society. Now I believe we've become a godless society, and I think it's evidenced through our behavior. And then I put letter B here because God does this as he does over and over again. Letter B, God the only hope. As for our Redeemer, and I put the definition for Redeemer is to buy back. I love that definition of that. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. God loves us so much, he bought us again. And that's what Jesus did. Jesus came so we could be bought back again. What do you mean bought back again? He made us. We're his by virtue of him making us. But he's not going to force anything on us, so he developed a plan, sent his son to die, and his son redeemed us. And boy, if we think about that just for a little bit, if we'll allow ourselves to think about that, how in the world could I do anything other than try to please him? How in the world could I do anything other than when I mess up, try to get it right with him and do better the next day? How in the world can I just live in the mindset of the world especially that we have today? It's just amazing the fact that he brought us back, he brought us a second time and gave us an out both eternally but also in every day. And he did that through Christ's deliverance, through the New Testament, the guidance that we can get through that. in our everyday life. And man, what a help he's been to us. But yet we just throw him off as he's too much trouble. And to me, that's the biggest harm in that I see in Christianity. And now in our churches, we don't even teach this kind of stuff. We don't even try to give our people a reason to live right. Come as you are. We'll accept you any way that you are. Honestly, our church will accept you any way that you are. Any way that we are, that you are. But our hope and prayer in our hearts is that you'll come and let God get hold of your heart and fix you where you need fixed. We're not going to tell you where to get fixed. We're not God's Holy Spirit tell you. But we're going to tell you what God tells us through the Bible so that you can fix you. And I just, too many churches are just patting people on, oh, it's okay, you can do whatever you want. And if you give people permission to do whatever they want, eventually a 14-year-old girl takes a gun, thinks she's right. In her own eyes, she was. She went into a school and killed a bunch of people. How horrible. She lost her own life. How horrible. Because she thought it was right to do. And we're seeing it over and over and over. They said today, I heard they were bragging, I think they said 320 school shootings in America this year. And that's down from last year at this time. And they were bragging on the news about how it's down. And I'm thinking, holy smoke, there was one? That's my brain. That one child thought it was worthwhile to go to school. One adult thought it was worthwhile to go into school, a bunch of helpless little kids, and shoot up the place. My brain can't fathom that, and yet that's commonplace, and I think you're right. I think it's a lot of the video games they see. There's no consequences to what they do in life. There's no consequences in the world that they live in the computer world, and so they just do whatever they want. And I don't like you, cool, I'm going to blow you up. And now it's gotten to where everywhere I go, I'm thinking that way. We saw a video the other day. Laura showed me one of the little short videos. This couple that gets on, and they're Christians, but he does a lot of things about wives and husbands, and a lot of jest in what he does. And one of the things is she gets on one time and just illustration. She says, if you ever get, how your husband irritates you and you get tired of him bothering you, go out and pour a little motor oil underneath the car and go search for 2 weeks trying to figure out what's come out of the car. It's funny little stuff they do like that.
House anyway.
And so they did one, and they're going through a store, a shopping store. And as they're going through the store, she's going out ahead of him. She's got the cart. And he's walking behind, and he's looking. There's two guys over here. I think I can take them. He's got his hands in his pocket. He's walking. Oh, there's a guy over there, but he's out of the harm's way. And it's going through his voice. You hear him talking that. And then the camera focuses in on her, and she's like, what else can I see? And it's just showing the difference between the male brain and the female brain. And the woman's shopping, and Laura even looked at me. She says, do you really think like that? Yeah, I think like that. But you have to in this world, especially as a dude. If you're protected what's yours, you're always looking around trying to, okay, I got an escape. Yeah, there's the escape plan. I mean, that's going through our heads. And Laura's like, you don't really think like that. Yeah, you do. What am I going to do if that big guy comes after me? I'm going after his ankle. I'm going to twist it as hard as I can. He will come down. Yeah, I'm done permanent. I'll get my card out and score his leg a little bit. But it's ironic. But in this world today, you have to live like that, and it's a scary, scary thing. So anyway, where was that? The 3B. Did I get down to C?
See,
Oh really? Down there? Okay. Letter C. Babylon is going to get theirs, and I just threw that. That's my little statement out. But number 5, verse 5, sit thou silent, get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Just think of what he's doing here. It's mind-boggling if you really think about it, because again, he's referring to Israel as the daughter of the Chaldeans. He's saying, you're just like your homeland. And he's referring to the Babylon as their homeland. You've decided that you're going to go with that, and I was making you the Lady of Kingdoms. And honestly, God had plans for Israel. And I really think that during the era, especially as David into Solomon, Israel was knocking on the door of empire. There were nations that, especially in Solomon's day, but some in David's day, they were coming to Solomon and say, we want to be your servants. Nations were making agreements with Solomon because he was so powerful. God had blessed him so much, and Solomon hadn't really even fought a battle. But just by the battles his daddy had fought, as David had fought, and Israel, the position she had gained in the world as they knew it, and the reputation they had, man, God had created an empire, and Israel walked away from that. God had set her up to be the nation of nations, and she threw it all away. Let me just say that we, America, consider ourselves a nation of nations. We're throwing it away, in my opinion. We're throwing it away. We were built on what's right. We're built on godly principles. We turned our back on the God of those principles, and now we're turning our back on those principles. To the degree that Donald Trump, who many people can consider an uber conservative, is not even close to a conservative, in my opinion. Yet everyone considers him an uber conservative, and what he did the last time he was in office was great for our nation as far as trying to get us back to God. So many of us are looking forward to hopefully that will repeat itself. But how sad that man, and I'm not trying to rip him at all, but he's not what we would consider a big godly man. But yet God's using him, I think, to help direct our nation towards him, and just hope our nation as a whole, on an individual level, are smart enough to see the need for God, and the need to get back to God, because that's really our only hope. Let me see, Babylon's going to go get theirs, and so listen to how God's going to get back to Babylon. Number one, God allowed Babylon to have the power she had. So he's presenting to Israel this argument, if you will. He's torn down her gods. Now he's going to tear down her power. Look what he says. And I put under there that little statement there, the power went to their heads. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance, given them unto thine hand. Notice that statement there, given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid the yoke. Thy yoke. He's saying there in that, I put it bold, given them into thine hands. God gave Israel to Babylon. Babylon could not have gotten Israel. In fact, and we studied earlier on, Assyria, when they was coming and they got the 2.5 tribes of Israel and took them into captivity. When they were there with Sennacherib and all that we told about the stories that were happening there, Assyria was a much more powerful military than Babylon. They were as far as defeating a nation, they were it. They were there. They were knocking on the door to the rest of Israel, and God says nope and shut it down. God had the power to rescue Israel. They didn't get the idea, so God sent Babylon to come do the job. The truth is that God's the one that gave Babylon the okay to do that. Maybe go out and check what's going on with that big old dog. I don't want to, my Bible. I'm just kidding. There's light. If you turn the farthest, the little switch all by itself, the one all by itself, if you flick it on its beam, it'll expose. You see anything out there?
It's going that way now.
Good. Sound like a pretty big dog.
I keep that door and,
Well, good.
yeah, come on out.
Yeah, I know. As long as that glass door.
As long as that door's there, we're good.
What's the storm door rated at? Yep.
Last time we had issues with that door and somebody out there in the
That's
trash.
all right. I got healed. It's all good.
What a good thing.
And you know it's not even locked. Half the time it's not.
Just the top one. Don't lock the bottom.
I got
That's
you.
my avenue.
You told me enough. I
Thank you.
remember.
It's amazing, Babylon, I mean, it's just a place for owls now.
Yeah, it's a wasteland, and God could have done that and would have done that, and they never would have had a shot at Israel if Israel would have put God first at all. And they really, he just wanted to turn back to him a little bit. He would have been happy with a little bit, and bought themselves certainly some more time. But oh well. So God gave them the power that they had. God allowed Babylon to have the power that she had. And let me just pause here just to remind us all that the power that any nation has comes from God. Any nation, even one against us. And so we just need to realize that, and it would really help us, I think, in our logic. But number two, untouchable. This is the mindset that Babylon gained. I put untouchable. Look who I am. Babylon is spoiled. Boy, does that not sound familiar. Look what verse 7. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thine heart, neither didst remember the latter end. And when I see that, I shall be a lady forever. In other words, I shall be the chosen one. Look at how good I am. I think in America we have that attitude. We're spoiled rotten. I've said it before, I think one of the best things that could happen to the church is for us to lose our buildings and have to go back under a tree and see if we will. See if we'll gather and see if we be faithful to God, even though the fancy building was gone, the chandeliers are gone, there's no climate control. Now, I like the climate control as much as anybody, but how dedicated to God am I? Is it really, truly okay, as long as the carpet's the right color, I'll come there? No. You come because of God. You're not coming from carpet or a building or a chandelier or climate control. But unfortunately, too often we're coming because we want the entertainment, the plushness of it, and I think we're in trouble. I just really, really do. So Babylon had gained, and I think Israel had gotten to the point where they believed they were untouchable. And then number 3, I put down, they became unsatisfied. Therefore, hear now this, thou art given to pleasures, yet that dwellest carelessly. Boy, that sounds so much like America. To me, it sounds so much like America. That we've gotten careless, we don't care. I think the last 4 years that we've seen our nation just, okay, if China wants to buy half of the landmass in America, let's let them. It's money. Let's have money here. Well, allow the enemy to buy the land that is America. I think I've listened to I read some article somewhere that theorized that Donald Trump was wanting to buy a big plot of land that they had, I don't know where they came up with the idea. But he wants to be, they say he wants to be like Andrew Jackson and buy like the Louisiana Purchase. And they were, of course, bad-mouthing him for it. And I'm thinking, that's brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant. He's not conquering it by military force. If we don't buy it, what's wrong with that? And I was thinking that's a pretty good deal to me. That's what America should be doing. If anything, we should be trying to bolster America up instead of trying to sell ourselves to the enemy. Get me to politics, and then I'll be in trouble. Number 4, there I put the word unstoppable. They'd gotten so spoiled that they felt they were unstoppable. Look at what it says thou. That sayest in the latter part of verse 8. That sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. In other words, I'm immune to everything. Look at me. I'm sitting on top of the world. And don't we see that in America? Nobody can beat us. Are you kidding? Nobody can beat us. I think I can remember just after Biden became president, didn't a big balloon fly over the whole,
Now we got drones flying.
from one, now we got drones flying, and all over the whole United States landmass, and we think we're unstoppable. I think the enemy knows what they're doing. The phones that we carry, they come from China. We've given our technology to China. China's taken it and run because they have character enough to learn. So between China, Japan, and all the Asian nations, and TikTok and all these, that we've turned into a nation that we basically we think we're all that, and no one's going to mess with us.
We're giving everything away, and we think we can't be touched.
Yeah. And 9/11 should have taught us that wasn't the truth. Unfortunately, we're too dumb to catch up there, and so I really don't know what will happen next. And I'm really frightened to even think about it. I really am. But I
Well,
just...
even if those drones that are flying over New Jersey and everywhere, even if they are innocent, you know, you don't think China's seeing that and saying, we could do that. We could fly our drones over there.
Well, you know, China watched us as we all, as a nation, were glued to our TV watching a big old balloon fly over the whole United States of America, and our president do nothing to stop it. When it's seen and we don't know what it is, I'm blowing it up. I'm getting it going. Oh, what if you hurt some? I don't care. It's a dumb balloon. I'm getting rid of it. It ain't supposed to be there. And yet we let it go over. What if it was a camera that videoed everything? What we don't know what it was. As a nation, we should be smart enough to protect ourselves, but yet those in power thought, don't worry about it. Ain't no big deal. They waited till it got in the ocean, shot it down, and living at the bottom of the ocean, no one knows what it was.
Well, technology is getting better.
It's scary. It is remarkably scary. Laura showed me an app, or she had, I don't know what she had done, but she had taken her face and put it on someone else, showed me 2 pictures of the original face and the one with her, and wanted me to pick out which one was her. And just for the record, I was right. She tried to fool me, and she can't because she thinks I'm not that observant, but I'm much more observant than she thinks I am. But it's remarkably hard, and she can show you there. She'll show you that what she showed me, and I was supposed to pick out which one. And honestly, I really wasn't that concerned because I'm just that good. But you're right. Technology is scary. And so now they can get us to say, do, or walk and talk in any way they want and video it. It looks legit. How are we going to know it's not? And it's pretty scary. That's why I say everything rises and falls on technology, social media. And of course, social media is 100% correct. Yeah, right. So anyway, trying to move on. And if you can't trust social media, you know you can trust the big networks. They, of course, can tell you the truth because they deal with the truth all the time.
You know, the bad thing about social media, even if you want to turn yourself away, I'm not having any part. You know, I did it for a while. Facebook didn't even open it up for 6 to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost out on so much that was going on.
Yeah.
You know,
It's our form of communication.
the church posts.
Yeah.
You know, my friends posts, American Legion posts. You know.
It's our form of communication. I talked to a guy called today and wanting to set up a meeting, and he works for a company that helps with that social media and getting the church's name out and all. And he's talking to me about it, and he said, and I said, honestly, I said, I don't know nothing about that stuff. I said, I really don't. I know very little about any of that. I said, I got an iPhone 14 in my pocket, and that's, I think, 2 or 3 generations back, and I don't even know how to drive it. I said, I do the best I can, but I said, I'm not totally dumb, or I'm not totally ignorant of the computer, but I really kind of am. And he said, well, we could help you out in that. He said, can we have a sit down and talk about it? I said, it'd be a waste of your time to talk to me about it, because I honestly don't care about it. I said, I'm remarkably old school, and I said, and honestly, you're going to charge me much more than I want to pay for it, I'm sure. And he said, well, how much do you think would be fair? And I said, well, let me explain to you my position here. I said, I'm kind of an old school guy. I said, I work with my hands, and I said, I like to work with my hands. And I said, when I don't work with my hands and I want to take a break of work, I sit down in front of a computer or a television and a screen and just sit there and veg out. And I said, but you're telling me I got to pay you money for vegging out in front of a computer screen because I need you to do that. I said, my brain doesn't work in that community well. I told him, I said, give me your information and let me bounce it to my son. At least he's a little more knowledgeable about that than I am. And he'll at least be able to know whether or not this is something worthwhile to even think about. I said, having a meeting with me would be useless because I think it's a waste of money all the way around. I said, so I'm not really the right guy to talk to. And it's so funny to hear him taking that shot in the chin as if I imply that he's not working. Well, in my head, sitting in front of the computer, watching in videos and stuff, I have a hard time thinking things work. So that's just me talking, but I'm probably going to get, hopefully not a lot of people are watching on the YouTube, because I might get in trouble for that, because that's what YouTube is all about. All right. Finally, that letter D there, Babylon's destruction comes. So here, a little bit of reference to what's going to happen to Babylon, and to me this is awesome. But latter part of verse number 8 says, "Thou that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me, I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children." Letter D, Babylon's destruction comes. That's what I was supposed to be. Verse 9, "But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood." And this is God saying, and he's pointing to Israel out, who he's referring to the daughter of Babylon. He's saying, "What you see what happened to Babylon?" He's reminding them or telling them what's fixing to happen to Babylon. And I put this passage was written in 712 BC, of course, not locked in stone, but that's 712 BC. I bounced over to Daniel chapter 5, verses 29 through 31. "Then commanded Belshazzar that they clothe Daniel with scarlet and put chains of gold about his neck." Time out real quick. This is just after Belshazzar seen the handwriting on the wall, because he brought the temple cups and stuff in to this wicked party he was having, filled them up with alcohol, and they were cheering and celebrating his prowess as king. God got man, sent a hand in, and just a hand, and it wrote on the wall a bunch of words, and he had all of his prophets come in and his princes come in, and none of them could read it. Daniel comes and saves the day, and he's given Daniel a bunch of awards, and that's what happened. He's putting all this, he's given Daniel scarlet, put a chain of gold about his neck, made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. He's telling Daniel all this stuff. Daniel just told him, "Dude, it's over. Okay, you done messed up." And God's saying, "You've been found wanting. I'm coming to get you."
Right now, this week, scarlet is trash. It don't mean nothing.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up.
Now we can talk again on Sunday. Until Saturday night, scarlet's trash. It ain't nothing.
Ohio State has a little scarlet in their logo.
It ain't fine threads.
Steve's having a hard time separating the college football world from life.
From the real world.
There should be more gold and blue, right?
Yeah, gold.
Yeah.
Steve, that's what gold
It
is.
was last week. They tried to plant that flag.
I know. That's what
He got maced.
I've heard on the radio people promising these sportcasters saying, "I'll pay for any fine that comes your way. Put the flag, put UT flag there." I don't know.
Oh, they're saying that, no, there's no plan to qualify. If we win, I guarantee you there'll be a
Somebody
flag.
will. One of those rabid fans will come and do it. if
They'll
nothing
have
else.
Smokey protect them while they do it.
Oh, it's going to be real. But look at verse 30. It says, "In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain." I put there right beside it, that was in 539 BC. That's 200, almost 200 years that before verse 9 is written. Of course, remember, it goes subtracts. And so you're talking about almost, I should have added that all up, but I can't think that hard. But that's almost 200 years before it happens. Isaiah is saying it's going to happen. And he's saying it so dogmatically, like, it's done. And I'm sure Israel, as they read this, thought, this isn't possible. But as Israel reads it after the fact, they're saying, wow, God knew what he's talking about. And sure enough, he did. And then goes on, verse 31, "And Darius and the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old." And the story goes on. But what an amazing God we have, that almost 200 years before, God's given a layout of the very destruction. And he says, and instantly, Babylon's going to lose children and experience widowhood. And just what an amazing God we have. And then he's going to explain why that all happened in verse 9b. Oh, I put number 1 there. Witchcraft. Here's why these things happen. 9b, And it shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries. That word sorcery simply means witchcraft. And for great abundance of thine enchantments, and enchantments, means a spell. So casting a spell, witchcraft, and then number 2, perversion. And verse 10, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. And that word trusted means hide for refuge. You found confidence in your wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me, thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. And then he continues in the third point I put down here, evil is coming, you're in trouble. Evil is coming, you're in trouble. Therefore, because of this witchcraft and perversion, therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments. Enchantments mean what? A spell. And with the multitude of thy sorceries. And he's talking about these witchcraft. He's talking about all this stuff. And let me just time out here. What is going on in our society, especially in the gaming world? What are they focused on? I wonder why. I wonder if Isaiah is giving a warning to America that our entertainment, our source of entertainment for our young people is this. This is what it is. I remember growing up as a kid, hearing preached against about witchcraft and sorcery, and Ouija boards and all that stuff was popular when I was a kid. Tarot cards and all those things, and was preached against and told stay away. I was told to stay away from them. I always stayed away from them because I was a little spooked by them myself. And yet now it's commonplace, thanks to Harry Potter and Pokemon and all that enchantment, Dungeons and Dragons, and all that crazy stuff has permeated our whole society. There's no harm in this. We're just playing a game. Oh, okay. Well, just playing a game. But I think sometimes if you dabble in what God calls wrong, you might just cross over and maybe not your generation, but maybe a generation or 2 generations later, you're so wrapped up in it you can't see God. And that's the fear I have, is that now we have a whole young society growing up, and they're going to say, there's nothing wrong with that. And it may not, in their generation, it may not be anything bad, but just wait a couple more generations and see what we have, and see how far from God that our generations have become, our kids become. And I think we're in trouble. Wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Well, how fitting to what we're seeing. The youth are being enchanted. The youth are being brought up in sorceries. If so be that thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let not the astrologers. Astrologers are horoscopists, is what I put there. Horoscopist is what I would say. I think it's scopists. Those that fool with horoscopes. And stargazers. And I looked up the word stargazers. Best definition I could find was those that gaze at star. So that helped you out a lot. And monthly prognosticators. Well, what a big word. And you know what prognosticators mean? Knowledgeable ones or educated ones.
Prophets.
Prophets would work, those highly educated ones. The brainiacs. Have you heard the average brainiac give a report on the news and how dumb they really are when they're explaining the things of God, and how silly they think that godly stuff is, because they're knowledgeable. They're prognosticators. Stand up, save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble, and fire shall burn them, shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, or fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander, every one to his quarter. None shall save thee. Wow. To me, it was really hard to get away in these 2 chapters and not see a snapshot of America, what we've seen her become. And honestly, our world, because our world's bought into this whole godless society that we're seeing brought up before us. I think Isaiah's given us a little bit of insight to some dangers that are out there. I want to do my part to keep America as stable as she will be. I want to do my part to influence as much as I can for Ray. I still get bloodied a little bit when I do that. I still offend, and especially the young people, a lot of the teenagers, even in our own church, look at me cross-eyed when I mention stuff like this, and they think that Brother Dusty's all wet because he's saying that our Dungeons and Dragons and Ouija and what is
He's
that?
so old school.
Yes.
Pokemon.
He's an old man, Pokemon and Harry Potter, that they're dangerous. The danger is, what we see, you remember the music back when we was young? And remember how even though the old people were telling us it's going down a wicked track, we would say to them, "You guys are silly."
We play the record backwards.
Yeah, yeah,
And here's Satan.
and them old, and they'd say all that, and we're like, we were young in that generation. Listen to what they're
You
saying
ever heard
now.
that, Genie?
And
That you can play a old rock and roll record backwards?
and you could hear
And
like
you
satanic
can hear the
voice in
Satan.
there.
Yeah.
This weird stuff. I stopped at a gas station. This just a few months ago. I stopped at a gas station, and a lady pulled up. A woman pulled up beside me in the car. She had a convertible, and she had some real rap stuff going on. She gets out of the car. That rap artist that was on the radio was saying words that I would never say. I wouldn't even think to say. And this woman was quoting what this rapper is saying. And what he was talking about is, in essence, violating a woman in a horrific fashion. And this woman was saying that terminology. And that's accepted in our society. That's okay. I'm just being honest with you. We were warned years and years ago by the old-time preachers that we were heading down the wrong road. We have lived now long enough, many of us here except me, to see that come to fruition. And so I kind of, with them guys of old, I want to say to our nation, to our Christians even, we need to be very careful what we do. When we hold hands with the devil and his ways, whether it be Baal or sorceries, it didn't work out well for Babylon, it didn't work out well for Israel. I'm afraid it ain't going to work out well for America.
As much as given, much as required. We're
And,
gonna get more than
we're
we're
going to get it. We're going to get it. And it's a fear of mine. I don't want to see it happen. I don't want to see our kids. I don't want to see our grandkids. I don't want to see our great-grandkids have to struggle. But my fear is that's exactly what's going to happen if somehow revival doesn't come back to America. And I think that's what Isaiah is saying here. Y'all wait a minute. Waving the red flags, and it's going to happen, Israel. And we watched it. History tells us it happened to Israel. And if we continue down this road and we're dumb and we won't listen to those of us trying to wave a red flag and say stop it, America's going to go down that road too, and there ain't going to be much left of us. So we're ready.
comes first.
No, me too. I'm hoping so much that the rapture will take us all out and let the world do what it does to itself. And we can be up in God's protection. My fear is he may just let it go on and linger. And generation after generation of good God.
Well, even if he does, I'm not gonna be here many more generations.
Yeah, it's concerning because those youngins that we've fallen in love with, that we're seeing we're brought up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, they're the ones going to have to suffer as long as this continues. So anyway, I think we should do our part best we can to try to at least thwart it, at least create a little speed bump for him to get over. So that's my thought. I think that you can see that here in these two chapters. All right, let's have a word of prayer and be on our way. Our Heavenly Father, we love you. Thank you for the warnings that you give us in your word. Thank you for Isaiah and his dedication to just saying it. I'm sure in his day this was not popular. In fact, a lot of it wasn't even understandable. But Lord, he tried and he did his part. Israel didn't listen. A couple hundred years almost after he said it, it happened. And Lord, I pray that you help us to do our part while we're here to warn the upcoming generation. And even though it's continuing down a bad road, may we stay faithful to you as Isaiah did. I pray that you bless us, Lord, tonight as we go home. Keep us safe and strong and healthy, please. Bring us back at the next appointed time, I pray. In Jesus' Is this thing? Amen. Thank you very much. You are dismissed. 2 more chapters. I want you to know that.
I like that.
That's pretty
I
good.
want to get out of that.
I know.